You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Ladies and gents, this is Kevin Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap. I hope you're enjoying the show. Truth on Tap is focused on bringing you absolute truth about everything from mainstream media to comedy, from psychology to the paranormal. This show keeps it real, not the fake kind of real, the real kind of real. That same spirit also covers our Caps on Tap show about the Washington Capitals. Caps on Tap shows air only after Capitals wins at this time. Please come like our Facebook page and join the conversation at facebook.com/Truth on Tap show. Truth on Tap has been picked up and promoted by iHeartRadio, the internet audio mega monster, so shows are available there as well as on Spreaker and a limited selection on iTunes. To get in on a show's chat, you can chat from the Facebook page I mentioned or go to www.spreaker.com/user/truth-on-tap and look for the live episode or call in at 910-NOLYING. That's 910-665-9464. Thanks again for checking out Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Opening up the truth pipeline for these bitches.
Truth on Tap. Truth.
My right to say how I say it's mine to give. My heart is mine to share. My soul's my heart.
Truth on Tap.
Yeah, bitches. July 15th, 2014. Just turned it. Midnight 02 Alpha Meridian. ENOE Generic Hip Hop Session 1. Got it moving quick like I feel a little because that's how I feel. I'm a malfunctioning robot. That's how I'm feeling. You know, it's a quick song, so just let it be the opening volley. Let this be the pistol that starts the race. Feel it with me. Oh yeah, you got the jazz, you got a little hip hop, but you're back in the '60s, man. There's a beach fire there. People are saying things that sound very gay by today's standards. Very, Beaver, Cleaver, Wally, and all them. Gee gosh, you Wally? Yeah. That's what I'm smelling out of this one. Mix that. They need to give this to fucking Public Enemy and just turn that shit loose. Public Enemy needs to come back. That's right. Flavor Flav ain't done. Motherfucker gonna have a clock so big he's gonna have a hump in his back. They'll just put a goddamn grandfather clock on a fucking wheel, one of those, what do you call them, little hand trucks. Roll that bitch around. Be cuckoo clock and shit coming out of it. Alright, great song, Generic Hip Hop Session. We're going to move right into my creation. It's a silly little song, but it'll be a good background for what we're going to talk about tonight. And I made this in Reason 5.0. I wanted a little jam, a little something that would get me going, And what'll happen is this, about 45 seconds into this song, you'd be like, that ain't no good. But parts of your body will be moving. See how I get you? I'm coming in the back door. I don't need your approval. I don't need your permission. I come in the ear and I work directly on the brain. You're like, wait, how do you do that? That's right. That's right. Check your knees and arms in about 30 seconds. Tell me if they're working for you. What is the topic of the show tonight? I'll have to look, because that's how little planning I put into shows. So we have Broken Manimal, which we are. Evidence not required. Evidence not required. Yeah, that's kind of a problem these days. And you see it mostly in religion, but politics too. I'd say even more in politics, because people aren't really talking about religion too much these days. Have you noticed? The extremists are more extreme, but the people that were in the middle somewhere, they just shut up. Have you noticed that? That's not such a good plan, my friends. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. We'll talk about it in this show. We don't need evidence anymore, do we? I told you not too many shows ago about a study they did. And in this study, people had a test and they got some of the answers wrong. The answers were corrected. And they were given the evidence for the answers and why they were wrong. After a week, they were tested again. People had reverted to their original beliefs. And this is fact-based stuff. It's not opinion-based stuff. So let's go ahead and face it. And I've seen so much more supporting data for this that they are overwhelming. Here's the problem. When we get something in our head, our ego goes to work to protect it. It's like you have a bank there, and you certainly want to bank president and tellers, right? Because an open mind is just a bank. I have an open mind. Shit flies in and out of my head regularly. But for the average person, they want to hold on to it. They want to protect what they put in there. And they do. But the question is what you have in there accurate? And do you give a shit if it's not? I see a lot of people that don't give a shit if it's not. That ought to bother you, man. I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to make a judgment call here. I don't like to judge people. God damn it, that ought to bother you. If people are believing in fucking lies and bullshit and saying, this is fact. I was looking at some news reviews today on the most reliable source of news. Turns out the Republicans, over 50%, say Fox News is the most reliable source of news. I'm telling you from a scientific standpoint that they are not. They are almost apt to tell untruths and to amplify things that damage the left, just like MSNBC will do to damage the right. People are tuning into what they want to hear. So, God, I don't know why you tune into me unless you just want to hear accuracy. Accuracy is all I give. It's all I offer. It's the only thing I offer. My attempts at humor are disastrous failures. And my attempts to inform sometimes go a bit convoluted. Let's throw another one up here. I want to keep going. I want to keep talking darn music. I'm in the fucking mood to. Here goes Genghis. Yeah, French rap bitches, stereo black star, super negro. You can't stop me. You can't stop me. Here I am, a white dude in America. I'm playing black French gangsta rap. Black Star, what's up? Sounds like, what's up? Yeah, I like it. I hate it. I actually hate the song, but I like it. You've had a love-hate relationship with music before, haven't you? Well, here I am. Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't be hard in France. Shut the fuck up. Go have a croissant and say things like Grey Poupon. Bitch, you ain't having a hard time. What are you doing, mashing grapes for wine? Get the fuck out of here. You ain't hard in France. Bitches can't be hard. Too many vowels in French. I know, I studied French formally for several years. You know? J'ai besoin d'aide. Aujourd'hui. Maintenant. S'il vous plaît. You can't be hard in French. I feel sorry for our World War II guys that were over there trying to sound hard and shit. And poo poo pa ma ma, moo ma ma ma. Too many vowels in that bitch. Yeah. So, got the news up here. I thought maybe I'd check into, I like to look at different news sources, okay? So I'm looking at Yahoo News today. It's MSNBC, it's BBC. I will occasionally check Fox to see what the devil's doing. But what I found is that they're all different from one another. And if you don't believe that, go ahead and take a look at 2 or 3 sources of news. Just seriously, Google News Today and compare them. Compare USA Today to BBC to CNN to Al Jazeera and see what they're saying about the same news items, if they even cover the same news items. It's kind of fucking freaky, to be honest with you. The difference with which a paper or news source will perceive a story and then spit it back out, depending on what their goals are. Occasionally, you get that honest, journalistic approach that says, we're just going to tell the truth like it happened. I love that shit. BBC likes to do that. But everybody's got an agenda, don't they? You got to navigate this shit, people. Nobody's going to give you a bright, glowing path to walk down. I try, and all I can do is light a match. I mean, I'm trying. And that's all I can do. What I am not is a program mouthpiece for any news organization. We take the news and we debate it and we ponder it and we poke it and we see what falls apart and we kick that shit around and we bitch smack it with a rainbow trout, and then we tie it down on the ground near where blind people are playing yard darts, and what we're doing is we're trying to fucking destroy it. And if it stands up under all that, well, you've got some good news there. You got some solid info. What you don't have is fucking French rap. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No French rap. Not in the news. Not in the news. Because it's super stupid. I can't groove with it. I want to. It sounds good. And then I hear the French say, "Oh, you can't get that shit out of here, man." That's like hearing Mary Poppins try to rap. Carry that shit on out of here. Tell him, Wes. Wes Johnson, W-E-S Johnson, WesJohnson.com. You can find his ass there. One of the most talented personalities you'll find. Mostly radio talent, but he's also been in a million video games. Not quite a million. Been in movies. Has done voice acting left and right. He's currently a lot of things, but he's also, most important to me, the announcer, the arena announcer for the Washington Capitals during their home games. He's freaking awesome. Pure electricity, that guy. I give him a lot of props, and maybe that's kind of weird. You're going, Kevin, is he a close buddy? No, I never hung out with him. Does he support some kind of cause you believe in? No, not really. I just somehow am really impressed with all of his talents put together. The guy is, some people can sing and dance, okay? This guy can sing and dance while spinning on his head, taking a shit in a zero-gravity bathroom, and make it all sound good. So good on you, Wes. Good on you, man. And I like to sing your praises here. He doesn't listen to my show. Why would he? He's too busy. If you're listening to my show, a couple things are wrong with you. I'll tell you what they are. And we'll get back to the topic. First, I have no direction. I don't plan my shows. There are a couple of times in over 100 episodes that I've jotted down a couple notes. There are a couple of times that I've put 3 minutes of thinking, okay, into my shows. And that means that what you're getting here is a broken mess of human thought. Hopefully, in the end, when you look back on the show, you say, I took something from that. I liked it. It made me think about something I hadn't thought about, at least showed me a new viewpoint. That's my goal. My goal is all of that with truth. And truth is evasive these days. People don't care too much about it. Do you? I want to hear. Because from what I'm hearing, people aren't that fucking interested in the truth. It's no longer serving the purpose that it used to serve so honorably. It pisses me off. I'm not good with that. Is that narrow-minded of me to be a person who discriminates against those that tell untruths, as well as discriminating against those who don't need the truth? I find that lazy is not the right word. I think I'm one of those guys. I've got my own definitions for things. For one thing, if you see someone that's lazy, I don't like that word, because generally what you're seeing is the effect of a psychological condition. It's that simple. When people are motivated, when they're operating at their peak, they are not apparently lazy. They are motivated. They move. So you may be looking at depression there. It could be, if you want to get technical, it could be a minor or major depressive episode, which is different than long-term depression. You could be looking at some other sort of mental illness. You could be looking at a simple chemical imbalance, low serotonin levels, high cortisol levels. I mean, we could get into it. Folks. So it's when I hear someone call someone else lazy, especially if they do it routinely, I say to myself, that person doesn't really understand the human mind too well. That's what I say. Because they think right away that the only thing between that person and a high activity level is will. And I say it's not. You can will yourself into action, that's true. But you cannot sustain a high level of output without inspiration. You got to find whatever it is that gets your gut and gets you fired up, and then you'll go, like a little wind-up doll. Until then, you're going to be mistaken for lazy, at least during some parts of your day. That's all. I don't believe in laziness. I believe that laziness is a condition that people are summarizing it. It's a very simplified term to summarize a condition that evolves out of a problem in thinking, a problem in feeling, you know. How about this Bo Bergdahl? Bo Bergdahl back on active duty. Surprise. Let me tell you what this is right now. We'll keep it under 15 seconds. They put him back on active duty to ex post facto justify the retrieval of him because people were not approving of his leaving the base that he left. That's all. That's it. So what they're trying to do now is say, hey, Bo, you go back on duty. We look good because we risked, you know, we got rid of 5 semi-dangerous POWs, if you will, because that's what they were, in order to get you. So now we need to make it look like you weren't just some bum that wanted to get out of the military. So come back on active duty. Okay. That's what happened. That's what happened. That's a stunt. That's all that is. And I'm not blaming the administration. I think they needed to get this prisoner back. And for all you know, they had new laws enacted that required them to let the others go anyway. You don't know. When the Republicans get done attacking the administration for this, you may just find out that laws had passed that required these 5 to be let go anyway, so we got Bergdahl for free. You don't know. Get your facts, man. Get your facts before you make judgment. If you just want to hate Obama and the administration, go ahead. But do you have the balls to be honest enough to say that's what I'm doing? Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you who my all-time hero is. And these two things aren't necessarily related, but there is a parallel. My all-time hero, for whatever reason, you can look partly at the broken manimal. The animal inside of me loves this hero. And this hero is William Wallace. Now, the Braveheart movie wasn't entirely accurate, but it did capture the man's spirit pretty well, as much as you can with Mel Gibson. The real Braveheart looked more like his friend in the movie, Hamish. Yeah, or Amish. Hamish is the way he pronounced it in the movie. But, yeah, he was about 6'8", kind of a redheaded guy, bearded. So, but what he did is he came from the common man. And there was some debate as to whether or not he had come from a semi-noble father. No, he wasn't rich. They weren't rich. He had a little bit of land. He had a couple of parcels of land, his father did. They didn't have much. They didn't have much to go on. So Wallace came out of nowhere and just said, fuck this. He was the guy that stood up and said, fuck this. I'm watching the English rape, steal, beat and murder and torture for information and control my people like we're cattle. I don't think I'm going to have it anymore. Okay? This same thing happened all across the globe during different time periods as people who felt like slaves or were slaves rose up. They rose up, but they always rose behind a leader, which, as a little side note, leads back to the problem I've told you about, where we need a pecking order. I think we need to evolve past that. I don't like using that word evolve. I like to use the word adapt. But I think we need to adapt to a system where if we're in a free country like America, we really can see each other as equals. And we can do things as a team. You don't always, every time you get in a group, whether it's a hunting party or a nightclub party, there's this pecking order that evolves. I say stop thinking that way and talk about it. Say, look, guys, we're all equal here. That's just the way it is. You know, I don't know. We can talk more about that later in the show. So what is it about this guy? He fought for the right reasons. He fought for fairness. And he had the balls to stand up to the world's most powerful army when he only had 3 or 4 friends that would stand up with him. That's how it started out. If you don't know the real story of William Wallace, there were many a scrap before he picked up an army big enough to go fight at Stirling. There were many a scrap. I mean, he had the English come one time and take a guy's fish. A guy was just down on the river fishing, and they took his fish. They said, we'll take those fish now. And he wasn't having it. And, you know, he said, listen, okay, do you take half the guy's fish? I believe was the story. I may have the details wrong, but I remember the scenario very clearly in my head from one of the books. And the English soldiers, instead of saying, hey, that sounds like a good deal, we'll take half, they stepped off the horses, 5 of them. They were ready for a fight. When it was all done, 3 of them lay dead and 2 of them fled. And Wallace was on the run. He was already on the run at that point, you know. So where do you find that kind of hero? These days, in a world with 8 billion people in it, I don't think you can. I don't think somebody like that has time to get well enough known and rise up fast enough to be that kind of hero in this day and age. It does require a perfect storm. But you can be known for your courage. And if you're a man in America today, hopefully courage matters to you. I realize we've got a softer generation that came up under single-parent households. But courage, does it matter to you? Maybe I'm overestimating courage and honesty. It's funny because now I'm thinking of this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, which I believe was, the way we win at life is to meet life with courage and honesty. Something like that. Fuck it. Now I got to look it up because the problem is it's not that I mind leaving you with the main idea of a thought. If I can't get the quote, I hate misquoting someone. Roosevelt. Eleanor. Courage. Yep, that's the one, I believe. Let me just make sure. All right, let's see. And while that's loading, I want to see if any of you fuckers are in chat. You are not. Because you're not in chat, I am going to have to call all the Chinese restaurants in the country and tell them not to deliver to you. So hopefully you don't like Chinese. You brought this on yourself. And, I have a few options. Okay, this isn't really the one. This isn't really the one I was thinking of. But hell, it's a good quote anyway. Let's do it. You gain strength, she says, courage and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, quote, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along, unquote. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. That's not the quote I was looking for, but it is applicable to what we were talking about. So here's my question to you. You want to hate the Obama administration, right? You have your reasons, whatever they are. Maybe deep down, you're racist. You can't stand the fact that there may be a black curly hair in the White House shower near the grand bedroom. Whatever your reasoning is, maybe you genuinely are not racist at all, and you just don't like his politics, or you just don't like his personality. All of that's okay. The problem I'm having is when you go out and pretend you don't like a policy, when really it wouldn't have mattered what the policy was. You wouldn't have liked it anyway. That's not being honest. I say act like you got a pair, and stand up and say why you don't like him or the administration, any presidency and administration. Just say it. You're going to get a lot of respect from people, even those who like him and favor him, because you're being honest. This trickery, this black magic, this fog we like to put over how we're really feeling to try to make it more socially acceptable, this gathering of ammunition like a squirrel gathering nuts for the winter that we do because we know we need to line up to assault those that we don't like, and we got to be armed to do it. That's a coward's behavior. In my opinion, it is. Put all that shit down, walk up with your fist only and say, here's what I don't like. You'll be respected for that. You may not get the kind of respect that Frasier got for the comedy series, but you'll get the kind of respect that Joe the Plumber got in the beginning. In the beginning. He was being real. That evolved into a life of its own. Oh God! I'm not even going. It's just too embarrassing for America for me to go there. Looking at some more news stories today, and it kind of relates to our man not needing evidence for his beliefs. Online rants, right-wing extremists fuel fears for U.S. cops. You know that in Vegas a couple of cops were killed. They were ambushed. And there's a social media thing going on against cops. Now, I have my own problems with law enforcement. I believe that probably, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say about 1/3 of them are honorable at all times. They're protecting and serving. I would say that about 2/3 of them have at some point during duty hours accepted a bribe or otherwise served their own interest instead of the interest of the public in a way that was technically illegal, even if not overtly and ostensibly illegal. It would have been against the rules had others known about it. The complaints against police have dropped dramatically since, for those forces that have to wear cameras now. What does that say to you? I used to tell people, live your life like there's a camera mounted to your shoulder at all times. Now, if I would have said that to my younger self, I might have made some different decisions that I made. But my older self has been sticking to that pretty well. If there has been a camera, go ahead and air it. I don't have anything I'm scared of people seeing. But, I don't want you watching me pee and stuff. I know some people do enjoy the golden shower thing, but don't do that. Don't do that. If there has been a camera, don't watch me pee. That's wrong. Have you ever gone to do the urine test and you can't pee because the guy's watching you? Because they got to make sure you're not using somebody else's urine? I am so tempted to just piss on him and say, here's what it's like. You're getting pissed on right now because you sat there and watched me for an hour. I couldn't pee. I couldn't relax. Yeah. What a weird thing that we have gone into here. This is how this show goes, folks. If you're trying to debate in your head, do I want to follow this show? Do I want to pay any attention to this show? This is the speed at which it goes out of control. And it will typically weave back into the lane that it started out in. But there is no guarantee of that. And there certainly is no guarantee of the timing of that weaving. But what I'm going to do right now is try to whip the car back into the right lane. The correct lane, that is. And we're going to be talking about the topic that I said we would talk about, and that is that evidence is not required. Evidence is not required for people who are religious. Have you noticed that? It's an exception. It is the voluntary suspension of disbelief to favor something that you were told as a kid growing up, typically by your parents or churches or mosques or whatever, and you don't need evidence. Yet, when you hear of another religion whose religion contradicts yours, and they don't have evidence either, your immediate assumption, I would even go so far as to say a hardcore belief, if you're truly religious, is that they're wrong. Their God is a false God. Let me ask you to do this. If you want to live a more accurate and fulfilling life, question your religion. Question it. Look up the evidence. Do your own homework. And I'm not going to sit here and lecture on elements of faith other than to say that the more I think about what people do in the name of religion, and the more I look at the evidence they need to support their beliefs or the lack thereof, the more terrified I get. It's really, if your religion doesn't promote peace and tolerance on every scale, then your religion has a problem. That's all. That's all. There is no reason for one group of humans to separate another group and say, ye shall be punished. Now, with the exception of breaking laws that your government, especially a democratically elected government, has come up with, that's a different story. If you don't have laws, well, you're an anarchist. And according to a political test I took today, I'm starting to lean that way. I used to be dead center on the political scale, and now I'm dropping into a kind of a little lefty and a little libertarian. I'll be voting for Ron Paul. It's ridiculous. I gotta watch myself. But I go where the data take me. That's where I go in my mind, and the evidence. And I watch human behavior, and I watch it like a hawk. And I look who's trying to serve themselves, and I look who's trying to fulfill the desires of super PACs, and I look at, there was a preacher today I was watching on a Richard Dawkins video, and it was Haggart. I think you guys know. I think his name's Ted Haggart, and he was, for the purposes of the interview, which was Richard Dawkins, he wrote a book called I believe, The God Delusion. For the purposes of this documentary, which was basically outtakes of the book enacted essentially in interview form, he was an asshole. Believe what I say, or you're going to hell. Give your money to this church, and don't ask any questions. And there's a lot of that going on in religion. And I don't know. I'm just asking you, if you want to have an accurate view of reality, whether it's about this life or an afterlife, you need to really do your research. You can't just take face value what a preacher's telling you, or even a book, especially one that's written over a period of centuries in many different languages with breaks in translation and anecdotal versus actual and symbolism versus reality. All of these things subject to interpretation, and what we're seeing more and more of is people selecting what they want out of their chosen religious book to serve their needs, while ignoring the stuff that they aren't exactly obeying. They ignore that, don't they? Well, that's outdated. You know, for Christians, that's Old Testament stuff. We don't have to live by that. In fact, I only really need these 6 commandments. The other 4 are kind of tricky, and I break them all the time. So I'll just go by these 6. Selective religion, selective law, selective adherence to any rule system is not one where you can claim to be living by the word and feel good about it, or you shouldn't. If you do, then you're very successfully deluding yourself. So why does mankind not need evidence for his beliefs? Really, it's a story here or there comes passed down the line. My grandpa's uncle had a friend who had a brother who saw Bigfoot. Therefore, Bigfoot exists. I mean, I guess what you should do, if you want to be accurate in your knowledge, is pretend that you're a judge in a court. And someone has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond any reasonable doubt, that Bigfoot exists. And this is what they've just told you. They are separated 4 degrees from the person who claims they saw Bigfoot. And to them, that is proof. Is that going to make it in your courtroom? Then it shouldn't make it in your mind. Become the judge. Put on the black robe in your imagination if you have to. Grab a gavel. I'll use a sledgehammer. I'll make it a big courtroom. It'll be an excess, a thing of excess. My robe will be 17 feet long. Midgets will be carrying the train of my robe. There will be several motorcycles riding around the inside of my robe, because most courtrooms are a circus to me, because you can get a judge on a different day and get a different result. That should never happen. Getting a judge on the right day should not affect your future. Getting a jury picked just perfectly at a certain time out of a certain area with a change of venue or a judge recusal or certain substitute jurors with certain skills, none of that should have an effect on your case that would have been different under other judicial circumstances. None of it. So until we have that, we don't have justice in this country. Forget about that. Your justice is just, it's a flip of a coin. It's, good luck. Good luck. You should not need luck in a court of law. You really shouldn't. But you do. In America, you do. And where in the world? I'm not so sure we have a place in the world where there's equal justice for all. I don't know. I don't think so. I honestly don't. You know what I'm going to do here? Since we don't need to have evidence for what, I'm looking at a article here on motherjones.com, and I can't remember if they're a left or right-leaning. I could probably tell you with the first few headlines. So let's see. Is Coding the New Literacy the definitive guide to every Hillary Clinton conspiracy theory? That makes me think we're leaning right, unless that's satire. Here we go. No, actually, it says here, Chris Mooney, who wrote this article I'm about to tell you about, is a science and political journalist, podcaster, and the host of Climate Desk Live. He is the author of 4 books, including the New York Times bestselling The Republican War on Science. So right there, that's telling me that he's probably leaning left. I think that's a fair assessment. You can't be sure. You can't be sure. Because he could be supporting the Republican war on science. But if he was, he probably wouldn't call it a war on science, because when you title something that, whoever's at war with science loses. Science is, it's math. It's so cut and dry when you're dealing with actual things you can prove in a laboratory under controlled circumstances in a repeatable fashion. I like to poke around the fringes of science, and I appreciate people that do that, but that's different than proven science. So Is this a war on science from the Republicans? I don't think so. I think it's mostly corporate in nature, and corporations do tend to drive the Republican Party. And but the Republican people in office, I don't think are against science. I think they're just favoring the needs of the large corporations, and the large corporations are saying, look, this pollution thing, we can't afford this. Or we don't want to because our bonuses, we got to give people $1.2 million bonuses every 6 months if they're high up in the company, and we can't afford a $200,000 insurance plan against certain leaks that would have an environmental crew respond immediately to clean it up. Things like that. If that wasn't an oversimplification, nothing is. Sitting on my porch right now, sweating my cajongas off. And I don't even know precisely what a cajanga is, but I'll relate it to something in the male anatomy. I'm going to pull up the weather just so I can share it with you. In southeastern Virginia right now, 81 degrees. AccuWeather has something called real feel. Real feel. Anyway, real feel is 88 degrees. Now, I'm also cooped up on a back porch / studio that doesn't have a lot of ventilation, and the fan I have on, I can't blow directly on me, or it would be to you. So yeah, I'm sweating my balls off. I almost had a freaking heat stroke today when I rode my scooter down to the docks and was talking to a guy, and all of a sudden my vision started narrowing. You ever seen it? You ever faint? So you got the black, it starts creeping in from the edges, 360 degrees around your eyes, and if you faint, usually it gets almost all the way tunnel vision first, then you go down. And this got about halfway down, and I was careful. I was moving. I bent over and put my hands on my knees, and he was looking at me kind of funny. But I got to be honest with you, my skeletal conditions, I have a terrible back and a pretty fucked up knee, and it's a disaster in the winter and the colder months. So I can't complain about this heat because overall, compared to the rest of the year, this intense heat, even with the humidity, helps my back feel better and my right knee. They don't always feel like they're about to explode from the inside. So, I don't know. That's me. So, yeah, 81 degrees feels like 88. How about that shit? Let me breathe for a second. I haven't been breathing very well. Do you know there's certain ways to breathe to make yourself calm down and to give you more energy? I'm just learning a little bit about that stuff. I'm not sure if it's all hogwash or not. I think there's something to it. I mean, oxygen content in the bloodstream is rather scientific in nature when it comes to energy and endurance, and so I'm learning. Let's see. So we talked about Bo Bergdahl and the prop-up job the United States government has done. We have not talked much about the online rants anti-government radicals fuel fear of U.S. cop killings. And I can't help but wonder if Yahoo News reporter Jason Sickles is trying to implicate a right-wing group when really this is just an anti-authority group. So you got to watch out for that too. Because, see, we skim, don't we? We skim headlines. So when you see right-wing, anti-government U.S. cop killings, you put those together in your head. You forget the rest. That's where you have to be careful. Because remember, this is one guy that wrote this, and one or two editors that let it through. And there it is. So you've got less than 5 people total between the concept for a story and the printed edition. And you're going to file that as fact? Be careful about that, man. Trust me. Just take it all with a grain of salt. Say, look, I know what they said, but I'm not so sure I'm buying it. I'm going to need more evidence. Make sure you get a satisfactory amount of evidence before you believe anything. The easiest thing for you to do, the thing that took me 20 years to do, including a lot of formal schooling, to unlearn all the shit I thought I knew, is let go of all of it. Oh, you got to keep your, quote, common sense, unquote, stuff. That's, common sense is another term I'm not real favoritive of, because common sense at one time said Earth was at the center of the universe, and that that the sun went around us, and all kinds of things like that. You'd fall off the edge of the Earth if you sailed too far. So common sense should be redefined as the most popular belief of the day on a given subject, mostly based, in my opinion, on lack of opposing evidence rather than present of evidence in support of. So, old wives' tales can they'll have legs until you disprove them. And then you can take many, many years trying to disprove them. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this, about these groups that have cops feeling threatened now. I'll tell you, I don't want anything bad to happen to cops, but here's what I do want, and I was talking about this on Facebook today. I want you and me in every state in America to be able to video and audio tape our interactions in the public domain, in public places with police. And it's illegal in probably 6 or 8 states. I mean, it comes down to audio. So it's basically anti-spying type legislation. And in many states, including mine, Virginia, it's called a single party state. And what that means is that a phone call or being out in public, you can record anybody in any two-party situation, as long as one party knows the recording is going on. So you, the recorder, would know the recording's going on. You cannot go out and record 2 people where you're not talking with neither one of them knowing. See, it's called a single party state. Out in California, for example, all of the parties have to agree to the recording. They have to give consent for it. So you can get in trouble for that. That's crazy. That's crazy. So you need to look that up, but if you don't know, you ought to still have your video recorder running. Download a black box app or something for your smartphone and have a video recorder running if you get pulled over. You got to keep these guys in check. They're not used to being in check. Just go to YouTube if you want to see some of the injustices. If you want to see how they grow accustomed to easy lies to get what they want from you. I need you to step out of your car and open the trunk. No, you don't. I'm sorry, do you have a, reasonable, what's your reason for this? Have you, first of all, am I being ticketed or cited or detained for something? And what is the reasonable suspicion that you have? And if they don't have an answer, it doesn't even matter if they have an answer. You do not have to consent to searches of your car. You don't. So, and searches of yourself. Unless you have, if they had no reason, if you had let's say you had a license plate that expired 1 day earlier. And so, not a license plate. So they pull you over and they tell you about this license plate. Okay. And they could write you a ticket. They'd be well within their right. Might be an hassle if it was only 1 day. But they'd be within their right. And then they say, would you mind stepping out of the car? You say, I'd rather not. Is there some reason you need me to step out of the car? Now, 1 of 2 things will usually happen. They'll say, well, we like to check for whatever. Well, that's too bad. I know my rights. And unnecessary searches and seizures without probable cause, I'm not going to do that. I'm not being an asshole. I'm just recognizing and abiding by my rights to not be essentially bullied. That's what they're doing. And if they say open your trunk, you just say, I don't have to do that, and I'm going to decline. And I'll tell you what one guy on YouTube likes to say when they come up asking him questions. He likes to videotape police events, and it's legal in his state. They'll come up and start firing questions at him. Hey, is everything okay? You know what he says? He says 4 words. I don't answer questions. And then they usually ask another, like, okay, well, I was just wondering, why are you videotaping everything? I don't answer questions. And it's kind of cool. It's like he knows his rights, So, maybe that's the way we need to go. You got to keep them in check. Anybody with power, you give them a gun and a badge at a young age. The corrupt mind, it could be clean when it starts, but then the temptations start creeping in. How many can stand up and keep their honor intact? Not everybody. So just protect yourself. If your state allows it, videotape and audio tape every time you have an interaction with law enforcement. I'd say probably 19 times out of 20, you won't have anything. They might be an asshole, but they'll be within their rights to say the things they're saying. But it's that 20th time you're going to get the asshole that had a bad day and doesn't have control of his temper. Or you're going to get the dirty cop who's trying to get a bribe or something, or gain something for letting you go, or you never know. It's all kinds of dirty shit going on in power structures. Just dirty shit going on, Lots of it. I don't like bullies. I have a huge problem with bullies. I've always had a problem with bullies. I was never bullied by anybody. It's not like I have this deep-seated psychological, anger that resides in me from an event or events. I'd see them on TV, in movies. I'd see them in school, but not picking on me, and I just hated it. Like, who the fuck are you to impose your will upon the freedom of another to take his lunch money or threaten to beat him up if he doesn't do something? Who the fuck are you? So, yes, I'm that guy. I'm that guy that actually keeps an eye out for the bullies. And I've just always gone after them. I hate them. I hate them. It's this natural thing inside me. And maybe it's a justice thing. I couldn't tell you that I was 4 or 5 years old and saw a bully and thought anything about it. But by the time I was 9 or 10, I recognized bullies. And I hated them naturally. I don't think it was a movie. I mean, who knows? It could have been some culmination of Hollywood and storytelling. And remember the movie My Bodyguard? Stuff like that. Maybe it was stuff like that built me up the way I am. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I just fucking hate bullies. And a lot of times cops are bullies. I had a cop last year. We were parked doing ghost hunting down in Old House Woods. And he said something about where we were parked. And I had enough because we had been harassed by police several times over the period of a short period of time, I'd say 3 weeks. And this was the 3rd or 4th time we'd been harassed. And we're innocent people, not drinking, nothing going on down there. Everybody's over age, majority age. That means 18 or older. And so we're abiding by the laws. And he starts giving us some questions about where we're parked. And you know what I said? And I said later this was wrong. And I told him this was wrong. But what I said is, and I'll quote, "Are you really going to bust our balls about that?" Unquote. And he, instead of becoming an asshole like he probably could have, or just getting quiet and saying, "Okay, you want to do it that way? Fine, I'll make some calls." He goes, Nah, I just want to know if everything's, kosher. I don't think he used that word, but that's what he was asking. And as I talked to him for the next 10 or 15 minutes, I realized that he seemed to be a pretty good guy. And I ended up apologizing to him. I said, "Listen, I've been a little defensive because ghost hunting is by default something that people pick on. They don't trust that it's actually what you're doing. They think it's bullshit. And maybe for the most part, and a lot of ghost hunts are bullshit. But I have seen things in the woods that nature cannot explain, and my knowledge of physics and biology cannot explain. And I've had a witness on all 3 occasions where I've seen something major. So I gotta believe there's something to it. Not to mention that the place we hunt is legendary. It's in many books already. And we talked, and I said, I'm sorry. I said I was a little defensive because we've been getting poked and probed by people, especially law enforcement, about being down here and what we're looking for. And I said I was already defensive when I saw your car pull up. So it wouldn't have taken hardly anything to get a reaction out of me. So, the way you deal with law enforcement's up to you. I just encourage you to protect yourself. Because it's going to be that one time. It's going to be that one time where you get fucked and you're going to wish you had a recorder going. I don't mean fuck literally. I mean, if you're in Syria, yes, that would probably happen. But not here usually. Oh, Egypt's got a ceasefire plan for Israel. Good. I guess they're kind of the big brother there. They tend to try to resolve disputes between those two to the extent that can be done. There's really no hope for a long-term solution for them. There just isn't. The religions are too much in opposition, and the proximity is too close. You can't get around that. That would take millennia to get around. So don't look for peace in the Middle East anytime in the next few thousand years. And we're going to talk more about this cop thing because I do not condone cop haters setting up fucking ambushes and killing them. That's different than what I'm recommending. I'm saying cover yourself. I'm saying some of them are bullies. I'm saying they should never be resistant to recording. They're in public. The motto is always the same: serve and protect. Serve and protect. And if they're not serving and protecting, they need to be on video. That's all they're supposed to do. They're confined to that. Serve the people and protect the people. That's what you do. That's what it says on your badge, dude. Read it. Anything else? I want that on video. I want to see that on YouTube. Because we need to know. You know, and the fucking police forces have become rather militarized in the United States, especially since 9/11. You saw Boston's response after the Boston bombings. I'm glad they had a strong response. Fuck terrorists that would do that. I wish they'd both been shot, because I'm kind of a patriot. But at the same time, I looked at that police force and said, Jesus Christ, they've got better equipment than the military. What's going on? Well, it turns out that they've privatized some legal services to get around laws in Boston. And yes, they've got a very military-looking police force now. It's fucking freaky, man, because if you think about it, when the public rises up, our little 22 pump actions ain't going to cut it with these guys if we ever have to rise up against our government. And this country and its constitution was designed to allow for that if necessary. It's not some sort of anarchist thing. So, yeah, a lot of police departments going private now to get around the public requirement laws. I don't know. I don't want to talk about cops anymore. They piss me off most of the time. Some of them are good. I've met some very good cops. They seem good. I can't be sure, but they certainly didn't demonstrate assholedness to me, and I appreciate that. If they're really in it to serve and protect, then I'm behind them 100%. If they're in it for anything else, I'm not the man you want to fuck with. Because if you do, and I can get it on video, or even if I can do my research, and I'm going to make life hard for them. If they have a reason to fuck with me, okay, all right, fuck with me. I won't go bitching about it. Oh, let's see. So, the key Republicans balk at White House border friends request. You probably heard the Republicans against something that the administration put forth to control the problem at the border with Mexico. Surprise. Here's the thing, folks. It wouldn't have mattered what he put forth. It would not have mattered. And when Bush, it doesn't matter who's in office and who's in opposition. It's always going to be a fight. It just is. As 2016 looms Christie skirts hot button issues, can you blame them? People hate sitting in traffic. I called Governor Christie. Yeah, it was on Thanksgiving, or close to Thanksgiving. You should check out that show. It was a funny-ass fucking phone call, too. I'm serious. It made me laugh. Tracy Morgan's out of the hospital. That's good. That's good. Glad to see he's all right. Democrats scour records for All right, so, a lot of these, we're going to read more because I got more energy. So if I have energy, I keep doing the show. But a brother does need a break. A crack will be getting old, and we can't just go like I was when I was a teenager all night long. You can do it. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about, yeah. Yeah, you do. You do. You're acting like you don't, but you do. You do. I hope there's no kids listening. If you are, turn this shit off and go the fuck to bed. That's what you ought to be doing. None of you bitches are in chat yet, so I think it is incumbent upon me to go chop down some healthy trees for no particular reason, just to make you feel bad about not being in chat. Yeah, I'll find big tall ones. I'll find ones that are pretty. I'll find ones that have squirrels living in them. And I'll chop those motherfuckers down with a wire saw. Because I can't chop anything because my spine will break. I don't know. Let me line up a couple of songs for you bitches. Let's see. I've got a couple that I love here, and yet I want to talk during them. So I'm not going to play them until I'm ready to talk again. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play Funk It How It Is, which has quite an element of funk to it. Saxo 22 in that one. And then B.O. Crew, I might want to talk during that. Let's do George Elias Hornet. I don't think I'm going to do a Doc in the Box on him later, so that should be safe. And then Snowflake Secret Things is what we'll do. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty decent. I'm going to play a quick commercial for you guys that may have tuned in late, so you'll know where to find information about the show and whatnot. And then when we come back, maybe we'll do some calls, maybe make a couple of prank calls, maybe just read some more news. I got no promises for you, and that means that this could go any which way. Any which way. My second half is generally freestyle. Usually end up touching on the topics of the first half, but sometimes not. Sometimes not. So that is that, and here goes
You're
this.
listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Ladies and gents, this is Kevin Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap. I hope you're enjoying the show. Truth on Tap is focused on bringing you absolute truth about everything from mainstream media to comedy, from psychology to the paranormal. This show keeps it real, not the fake kind of real, the real kind of real. That same spirit also covers our Caps on Tap show about the Washington Capitals. Caps on Tap shows air only after Capitals wins at this time. Please come like our Facebook page and join the conversation at facebook.com/truthontapshow. Truth on Tap has been picked up and promoted by iHeartRadio, the internet audio mega monster, so shows are available there as well as on Spreaker and a limited selection on iTunes. To get in on a show's chat, you can chat from the Facebook page I mentioned or go to www.spreaker.com/user/truthontap and look for the live episode or call in at 910-NOLYING. That's 910-665-9464. Thanks again for checking out Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap.
To Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Furiously circle and crash face forward again and again. I can see the sun. I cannot see a barrier, though I inspect its surface. All else is dark, that way is light. The faintest leak of air tells me that way is home. So I flail and beat against that which I cannot see. else is dark, that way is light. Circle and crash face forward again and again. I can see the sun. I cannot see a barrier, though I inspect its surface. Finally, I rise no more. My curled and dry husk gathering dust. The others, the brittle, tiny corpses of the windowsills. Pausing.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Secret things. Secret things.
to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Now I'm gonna have to drop L'Amadio Tiato on y'all bitches. Yeah, Sacto 22 hitting it. Beautiful song. I'll talk during it, because I can. Truth on Tap's the show. Kevin Kierstead is the host. L'Amadio Tiato. Today, I change the meaning of this song each time to match a topic that I want to talk about. So today it'll be about human nature regarding authority. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my view on it in a way that maybe if you haven't bothered thinking about this half as much as I have, it'll help you to see how this machine works. And I'll try to use examples. I don't know what I've got. I'm not going to be Googling shit. I'm going to have to go mostly on memory, okay? L'Amadio Tiato is going to be code for the human authority issue. We are, I guess, in a battle with ourselves, aren't we? That's really what this comes down to. And the battle is that there is a natural expectation for power structures to develop. But yet we resist being bossed around, don't we? We don't want to be ruled. How about that? How about that? This is common in the human psyche. These macro ideas at war with each other. And the grand sum total is zero. We're in a fight with ourselves. So, do you follow the instinct to allow the power structure to develop, to have a leader at all times? Or are you willing to overcome that natural desire for what's fair? And what's fair is for everyone to be equal and to not have anybody bossing anybody around. I don't know about that. If you can't handle authority, you are labeled rebellious and an anarchist and lawless and an outlaw. If you are too much of a sycophant to anybody in a position of authority, then you're considered a brown noser and an ass kisser and soft. Most of us fall somewhere in the middle. We obey authority when we absolutely must, but yet when we find ourselves in freestyle situations, we still find ourselves almost electing a leader. Have you seen it? You're at a bar with 5 guys. Somebody becomes the spokesperson. How'd that happen? Natural. It's natural. I mean, I would like to say don't worry about it, but I think maybe this is something to worry about. You're going to have to pay attention to why the person in your group gets elected silently to the lead position, alpha dog, whatever you want to call it. And then you're going to have to ask yourself if you have a problem with authority, because if you don't, that means you're a sheep. If you have no problem with authority, people telling you what to do and what to think, you're a sheep. If you're okay being a sheep, shake your woolly tail and say, fuck y'all, I'm happy. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. There, you found happiness, you're good. You don't have to be somebody who thinks for themselves. But don't expect to have an accurate representation of life and truth and meaning if you won't think for yourself. If you won't read this story on Mother Jones about the science of why we don't believe science, and then question that and question yourself. Yeah, so that's it. L'Amadio Tiato is done. We're going straight into Soda, 18 pieces. Soda, 18 pieces. This is another beautiful song, and I'm just going to roll with it. So, I don't know, what's our next topic going to be? How about things I don't like about what the media does? Now, I'm not much to complain, but keep in mind that I like to sell ideas. I like to talk about ideas. So the idea that the media is leading you on false paths pisses me off. And I'm going to tell you some ways they do it. Recently, what have we heard a lot about? What's been dominating the headlines? Kids left in hot cars, right? Look up the statistics. This has happened before, folks. This has happened with sinkholes. This has happened with cranes. This has happened with tornadoes. This has happened with terrorist threats. Once they get you scared, they pile it on. Why? because they want to make it look like an epidemic or pandemic. They want it to look like the whole world is getting consumed by sinkholes, because that is more likely to get you to tune in, because it is an ongoing saga versus some isolated stories. You remember the cranes? Cranes were falling on everybody's head back in 2008, 2009. Every other day you read a story about a crane collapse. Well, guess what? There's about 14,000 crane collapses per year in the United States. It's the one or two that got attention that then set off the firestorm of research to talk about the ones that followed that. The reporters knew and the editors knew that these crane collapses were no different than the ones the year before and the year before that. These sinkholes have been popping up all over the country forever. It's part of the way the earth works. With population increases, you're going to see it in more populated places, but it's not happening more. It's not happening more. So that bothers me, because that's kind of lying to you. See, they're not technically lying to you. What they're doing is reporting a bunch of stories in sequence to create the illusion that there is widespread disaster due to one specific cause. You have to be able to see through that, my friends. Study criticalthinking.org. Study the whole motherfucking website. If you don't like that, go to YouTube. There are a bunch of beginner videos on there. Some of them animated form cartoon, very simple to understand, about how to learn how to use critical thinking. And you'll be able to pick this shit apart. And you don't have to spend all of your free time doing research. You can really pick through it quickly once you get your skills honed a little bit. I'm not asking you to find these places and think the way they tell you to. I'm asking you to find some way to learn how to think so that you're accurate. That's all. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm trying to push. If you got a better way to do it than criticalthinking.org, by God, use that. Send me the website. Send me the source. I'll take a look at it. I'll put my support behind it too if you're right. Rationale, logic, critical thinking, reason. These are things that are far too often not used in our lines of thinking. Why do we allow that? Why do this voluntary suspension of disbelief has become not only something you do when you're in church or you're watching a sci-fi film, it has become a lifestyle in America. I guess this is about, if it doesn't bother you, then maybe it is just me. Maybe I'm one of the very few who are bothered by this. I don't know. I haven't done a survey. I haven't done my research in that category to see who's bothered by inaccuracy and lies. But I'm getting the feeling that as long as it's entertaining, lies and inaccuracy are okay these days. You tell me if I'm wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong. We're getting ready to exit out of Soda's 18 Pieces. Great song. It's got some beauty to it. It's got a little bit of misery in there with some beauty. But next we're going to Rupert's Fiesta. This is a pretty fucked up song right here. And I don't know what I'll talk about during this. I'll just talk about shit. Let me get a feel for it. Yeah, I've heard it once before. Yeah. How does it make you feel?
It's not an issue, wait for the case to fizzle. Board goes pop before the ghost stops. Before the days when we used to just pop lock. I got the lock stock, less the barrel. So don't bother trying to ask what have you. Cause we the have-nots, not cause we choose to. We just bruise up, then we lose too. Gotta find a way to bruise up the new school. Bruise up the new pattern, find a new school. We can be
makes sense, bro.
To parlay the night's phonics, the night's phonics. Yeah, I'm right on it. Yeah, I'm right with you. And I'm back at you. And I'm back on it. Don't you want it? If you got it, then you better flaunt it. Does it sound crazy? Is it played out? Think about it, son, while I just fade out.
Yeah, I can't make sense of this song. I'm just going to go with the art of it. Speaking of art, if you haven't seen it, take a look on YouTube. Do you like the YouTube videos? I find I'm a visual creature. Men typically are, more than women. Whoa, excuse me, homeboy. Brother be screaming. Yeah, he sounds like somebody who can't find sleep. Yeah, damn. Crack, I need a unison or some shit. You sound disturbed, my friend. And if that's you doing art, that's beautiful art, brother. Beautiful art. Beautiful vocal art. So yeah, this is making me feel kind of like that. It's I have no idea where the fuck I was going, and that's perfect for this song, actually. Yeah, I don't know what he's saying. Art is about how you feel. Oh, the YouTube video I was talking about, look it up, and it's popularly been called the weirdest video on YouTube. Hopefully you'll be able to find it. And yeah, you're going to see a bunch of shit that I'm not talking about, but the one that I am talking about should have 2 guys in it that are dancing with poles connected to them. And it's crazy art. Crazy. It is art, though. It is art, just like this song is. It makes you feel a certain way. Good art, in my opinion, will draw almost brand new emotions out of you. Now, most emotions are combinations of the 4 big ones. But just like you can combine sugar and salt and spice to make different flavors and different levels, the same with art. The same with art. It's that varied. And yeah, this song, I don't know about that screaming. That kind of bothers me. It's too painful. It's not something I would listen to for joy. I don't know why I got this song, but it's a conversation piece at the least. Yeah. Yeah, that's just, it's powerful, but yet, yeah, I can't, I just can't relate to it. I don't know. It feels foreign to me. Let's, we're gonna load up Purple Nurple, and we'll probably make this the last one. I don't remember how this song goes, but I remember it's kind of metally and busy, so we'll see how that works. We got about 20 seconds left on this one. I'm not going to have a topic for this next one. I think, I don't know, we'll just skim through the news things. We finished talking about Bergdahl. Now let's get out of there. Reuters is a good source for news. They're kind of boring, which means they're usually accurate. U.S. pushes for prison for Tunisian accused of train plot link. Canada-U.S. passenger train who agreed last month to a plea deal that included no terrorism charges. That should not be allowed. You shouldn't be able to fucking plea out for terrorism charges. That shit should have to go to court. I don't know. Who am I? Billionaires breakup plan would chop California into 6 states. Hey, whatever works. Ex-Minnesota governor says TV career halted by sniper's claims. That's about Jesse Ventura. That's worth a read, but I'm not going to read it on the air because that's stupid. The science of why we don't believe science. Look, I'll be the first guy to tell you, question science. Look, these scientists that are out there doing these experiments and putting forth these theories, especially the theories that can't necessarily be proven but stand because they can't be disproven easily, watch those. Because mankind, especially the nerdy type, let's face it, has an inherent need to get his name next to something big. So, whether it's conscious or not, I think your average scientist will take a not highly polished theory, and if it looks like it might have legs, he'll push 100% to get it out there. And you've got to be willing to say, okay, I see this standing there. I've seen nothing that could knock it down yet. That doesn't make it solid fact. You know, and this is whether it's Einstein or fucking Bubba. If they've got a theory and they're getting their name next to it and it's gaining some traction, that doesn't mean it's the gospel. Don't take it as the gospel. Put it in your working truth category of your mind and say, this may have something to it, but I'm not going to bet my house on it. The evidence is not in yet. The testing just hasn't been done. The very necessary thing for something to be proven and be well received as scientific fact is long durations of time passing without any challenge successfully taking down the theory. That's how it gains. Unfortunately, we humans, you know what we do? If something's around long enough, we give it credibility. If it's a wives' tale and nobody ever challenges it, it wins. Well, they've been saying that for 1,000 years. Well, good for them. Yeah. I don't think any of you guys are in chat. We're getting ready to go to Low Tag Blanco by Slumlord. And I just need to make sure. Yeah, so fuck you guys for not being in chat. Seriously, fuck you. But thank you for listening. Yeah, I dig this song. It's certain. It does have the maximum amount of funk in one song. The maximum. I mean, you know how you can take up to 800 milligrams of ibuprofen per dose? Well, this has 800 milligrams of funk in it, in a very short 3-minute dose. So we don't want you to OD. Too much funk could lead to things such as one eyebrow raising, extensive saliva production, fainting, blacking out, yellowing skin or eyes, renal failure, penis bending, vagina clapping, could lead to excessive gas, disturbed sleep, could lead to diarrhea that's also constipation, which you're going to think is normal, but it's not. So you got to be careful with how much funk you take at one time. You don't get enough, well, you're not even feeling it. Why would I play 10 seconds of this song? I mean, I realize that's a hit. It might get you high. But you need the 3 minutes and 10 seconds or so to get the full funk factor without overdosing. I've got the magic dose here for you, and it is Slumlord's Low Tag Blanco. Let's feel the funk. Let's feel it. Yeah. I've got 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, maybe a touch of the 2010s plus in here, and maybe even a little bit pulled from the 50s and 60s, just maybe on the chorus, just some horn work, just some of that brass working. The funk factor is phenomenal. It is. I mean, listen to this. Oh, gosh. It's like War meets Bill Clinton on the sax. And you know he's funky. Yeah. I was pissed off when Bill Clinton got a blowjob in our White House. That's not the place to get that. It's certainly not any way to live up to your wedding vows either. But if you're going to do it, you don't fucking do it in the White House. That permanently damaged the office of the White House to me. When I realized a man could see it as so insignificant, he'd get a blowjob from an intern in there. You know, it just... that pissed me off. You know. Now, I don't care so much, but I'll never take him seriously again for any reason at all. I can't. I just can't. He couldn't keep his promise to his wife. I certainly wouldn't expect him to keep his promises to anybody else. Now, his wife may be a different story. You know? I don't know. We could talk about her. I've heard some shit about her, too, from inside sources. So, maybe we'll talk about her sometime. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. I might fuck around with some sound effects here a little bit on the way out. See what I can come up with. Some kind of... I don't know. I'll put something together in my head.
With host Kevin Kierstead.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see what I have. Okay. How about this? Ladies and gentlemen, I gave you clues to what I was going to eat the other night, and I don't think I told you what it was going to be, but for those of you that were guessing, one of the clues I gave you was that this product that was frozen in my freezer that I was going to be cooking happened to be an animal that grew up in a place in which the dressing that I'm going to use with it was named after. So I know you guys have done your homework, and let's have a drum roll, please. For those of you who wanted to win absolutely nothing by knowing what I was going to eat, it was seasoned chicken wings. There you go. That's it. Seasoned chicken wings. I like the seasoned chicken wings. Already cooked, already prepared. They're frozen. Let's see what else we have here. Could I go anywhere with any of this? Yeah, I don't know. It's got to feel right. I can't just start pushing sound effects. It's got to feel right to me. There's got to be a... doesn't have to be a theme necessarily, but there has to be some sort of motivation that I can run with. And my sound effects, the way I have them organized, those of you guys familiar with radio know about carts. And I've got probably literally 20 carts up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5 is 25. So 20 times 25, I got that many up. And some of them aren't that interesting, so that just because they're there doesn't mean I'm going to use them. Some of these newer ones. Sometimes when I'm talking to people on the air, on this show, and I ask them a question and I hear their answer, I really want to use this sound effect. Yeah, seriously, is anybody home? Because that's not what I asked you. Why can't you answer the question? And then I get accused of this. Yeah, well, fuck me and fuck you too. I was not whining. I just wanted an answer to my question. You know, here's a good thing. How about what Einstein said about Gandhi?
I believe that Gandhi's views were the most enlightened of all the political men in our time. We should strive to do things in his spirit, not to use violence in fighting for our cause, but by non-participation in anything you believe is evil.
Okay. What do you think about that? You don't have any thought about that?
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, maybe it is, but if I had been the first one on the moon, let me tell you what I would have done. You know, you can say something all prolific like that, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The first thing I would have done after I touched down on the moon is I would have had the astronaut behind me hand me 2 turntables. And I would have just got, oh shit, I would, oh shit, let me pick it up. Nope. The gravity, there we go. Oh, I'm upside down. I'm on the moon, bitch. I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon, bitch. Not in a balloon. Oh, we're getting feedback. I'm on the moon, bitches. America made it first. There it is. Yeah, that's what I would have done if I was on the moon first. I would have been scratching like a bitch. Well, what else can you do, you know? So yeah, I'm looking in chat here, and I see that somebody's there, and Guy Shea, I would have pooped on the moon. Thanks for showing up. Now, Guy, if I may ask you very quickly, I'm actually just getting ready to tune out here, but you changed your name to Gen Rev Guy A. Shea. What does that mean? Tell me what that means. You guys need to check out Guy Shea's show, and if you don't, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come kidnap you in the darkest hour of the night, and I'm going to tie you to a post. And this post is going to be randomly placed at a blind jouster's school. And you don't want that. So you need to check out Guy's show, Guy Shea, S-H-E-A, on Spreaker and whatever other networks he uses. If you would have pooped, do you realize it probably would have taken like 4 seconds to fall? Yeah, because the gravity is what, 1/8 of Earth's gravity on the moon? I mean, white guys could dunk on the moon. That's how weak the gravity is. I wonder how much force it would have taken to take Guy Shea's turd and launch it out of the moon's gravity away from Earth, so that it did go into deep space. And we would have had, Hambo, have you heard, Mama got hit by a flying turd, could have actually been a true story on another planet. And Guy's fecal distribution into the universe may have become a part of some other life form's reality. How about that shit? Yeah, how about that shit? That's what's up. Okay, Guy is busy, apparently. And Kim's in chat now. Kim, you guys are coming in right when I'm going. General 8-star Rev Legal MD, aka DJ Bad Guy. Man, you lost me. Oh. Rev Legal. Okay, I don't know what that means, man. You lost me, Guy. I'm not picking it up. So, are these separate names you have on the radio networks? General 8-star, Rev Legal MD, DJ Bad Guy, or am I missing something? Yeah, I know, Kim. I was getting ready to go, but Kim, what are you going to look for some ghosts tonight, or are you in for the night? I believe hey, there's always wars starting over some shit, so it wouldn't have been out of the ordinary, Guy. So a flying turd. I said something once that I think is true. Sometimes I'll say something that sounds pretty cool, like it could be a neat quote, and then I'll wait for time to destroy it with evidence. And a few things have stood up. One is, all comedy eventually returns to discussions of poo. I think it does. I think when you're lacking for comedic material, we can go straight to shit. If you can get, sometimes you're reduced to shit. Other times it's the headliner, but you always have it. You always have it there. No, all one name all one name Spanish. Okay. All right. So Guy Shea. Good Lord. Let me try to read this again. General 8-star Rev Legal MD, aka DJ Bad Guy, of the Resistance Against Evil She-Bots of Utter Butter. All right, you guys heard that, right? So I'm not going to say it again because my tongue might end up in a figure 8 knot if I did. But you can find Mr. Guy, who is the universal comedy. It is, man. It is. It's like math being the universal language. You want to talk about comedy, it's going to involve digestive processes, I think, in any species. My first book I wrote, Name of Vault, they also believed in comedy, and it's funny because their digestive, this is aliens I'm talking about, their digestive processes were very efficient compared to ours, but they still had noises. They still had gastric noises. Dunka amen. Kim, are you going out to look for ghosts tonight? Or are you in for the night? I need to look at the weather to see if I can do anything like that. My scooter's running well, which is a rarity indeed. I drove the hell out of that thing today trying to see if I could break it again, and it wouldn't break. So, it's funny because with a Chinese scooter, you don't know. Okay, it's running well, but did I do more damage in the testing? So when I go out, will I ride 5 miles and the fucker cuts off again? I don't know. I learned my lesson. I bought a Chinese scooter, brand new, July 4th, 2012, for $900 cash, assembled. You can get them on the internet for about $750 if you want to do the assembly yourself, or parts of the assembly. But I've learned my lesson. I've replaced, as far as the parts go, not necessarily the body, but functional parts, I've probably replaced 70% of them. And a couple of those were preventative. Most of them were because of issues. All right, so the chance of rain hovers around 35% for the next 5 hours. That could turn into, I don't know. Bobby Bowles. Guy Shea's old co-host was Bobby Bowles. By the way, Guy, thanks for coming to the chat. As you can see with my shows, I might have something buzzing with 10 or 15 people. Typically, it's 1 or 2 or nobody. And I'm okay with that because the reason I do a radio show, I haven't really figured it out yet. I've always had a crush on radio. You can ask Kim. I used to call the local radio station, Z104 or WNVZ is still here. We used to call them all the time in high school. It's just very cool to me. But I do it more for socializing because I don't go out. So it's like to, it's kind of my psychiatrist, my journal, but I figure, what can I do? Nobody wants to hear me talking to myself, so maybe I can give away some kind of perspective that's interesting. I guess that's really my goal. You're welcome, man. Thank you for coming by. And Kim has not answered me yet, so I'm still trying to figure out before I go if she's got any kind of agenda here for poking into the afterlife. As you may know, Guy, I don't know if you've listened to any of my old shows, we do occasional live broadcasts from Old House Woods in Matthews, Virginia. You can find it in books. It's legendary for its haunts. And I'll be honest with you, we've spent, I would say, over 1,000 hours back there now. And only on 3 occasions that I've been back there have I seen something really significant. And for a total of, I guess the Storm Lady stood there for about a half hour. So, but if you count it all together, so for 1,000 hours back there, I've seen 40 minutes of activity. It's not a very good hit rate. I believe radio podcasting is the new drug. I think you're right. Man. See, but tell me this, Guy, because you've been doing this for a while. I have an attraction to not just doing the show, not just being heard, but I like having the sound effects there and the programmable songs. That's why I need Radio Boss or something like it. I used to use Sam Broadcaster, but I love Radio Boss now, and I'm kind of a spokesperson for them, partly because he gave me the software for free, and mostly because I like it. And I like to have that whole feel of a radio station, where I can call somebody. I've got the calls set up. I can take calls. I can hit the sound effects, You like to hang out in the wood at times too, but I would rather not talk about it. Okay. So you don't have to talk about it, but tell me if I'm right or wrong. You've seen something, and you're just not comfortable talking about it. I can't imagine why you'd be uncomfortable talking about it if you hadn't seen something. At least that's my guess on this. Yeah. Well, let me see if I've got something. Sometimes when we go ghost hunting, we have people join us because there are a lot of tourist types that come through there. It's a well-known place, especially in this area. It may not be the best, most haunted place in Virginia, but if you're in this area, it's a spot to hit. We have people come here for Virginia Beach all the time, and so it's got that kind of reputation. And I've gone back there alone, and I've even got a couple of hunts up on YouTube that I did alone. But sometimes when you're back there alone, you just, did I hear, what is that? Oh my God. I think I just heard something growl. And it wasn't an animal. And it wasn't anything I've ever heard before. Now I'm getting nervous. And then, yeah, I just do that. I play, because I got to have fun with it. So I end up making a joke. Yep, that's what I do. It's not every day you're in the middle of haunted woods and you for example, I saw what could have been the headless dogs that are rumored to be seen. But when I shined my light, I saw the reflection of eyes. So I said, it's not the headless dogs. Plus, I'm not afraid of the headless dogs because they couldn't bite me. They would just bump into me. And they would be very upset that they could not sink their teeth into me because they don't have heads. They would just be like this. I wish I could bite you, but I can just bump you instead. So I tried to turn it into something. You saw something just wrong? That sounds evil, man. That sounds like you saw something evil. I have a friend, or had a friend. He's actually passed. He was 62 years old when he died. And this was back in roughly 2010. And when he was a teenager, he wanted to get laid. And he thought that joining this satanic group would help him get laid. He didn't know. He didn't know any better, and he wasn't with them for long. He didn't realize what it was all about. But he saw two things that he didn't like to talk about, but he finally did tell me about. And one of them was the corpse of a lady hanging from a ceiling. And it wasn't real. It was a ghost. He knew that. But it was real. It was so visible. The rope, the lady, her face, her eyes, her nose, her hair, her ears, everything was there. And he said that haunted him for a long time. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, one thing I do not like to do with my shows is let them slowly deflate like a whoopee cushion with a pinhole in it. Because that, people that are listening to the last part are going, oh, this sucks. So I like to snip it off nice and clean at the end. So I'm probably going to go ahead and just get ready to chop this off. I know there are other shows out there that y'all can check out. And I know Guy's got a whole bunch of shows he listens to because he's part of the team. So I want to thank you guys for listening tonight. Thank you, Guy and Kim, for coming to the chat. Kim, you can message me on Facebook if you're going to do anything out there tonight. Let me know. And for the rest of you folks, I may just give you a treat. This is for the heartbroken among you, or those trying to recover, and it's called Dark Side of Your Heart. I kind of dig this song, to be honest with you. That is that, and here goes this.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead. Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.